Assalamu alaikum, my dear students. I hope all of you are fine and doing well. So, topic here we will discuss today it is the rusting of iron and the corrosion of aluminium. So, what does mean by basically the rusting of iron? Rusting of iron, it is a type of corrosion that occurs when iron and other metals react with the oxygen in the air. So, when iron is present in the air, it may come in contact with the oxygen and the moisture that is present in the air, then it started to corrode, and that type of corroding is known as the rusting of the iron. On the other hand, corrosion of aluminium. It is just refers to as the general weakening of the metal as a result of various forms of chemical attacks on it. When a lot of chemicals just started to attack on the metal surface, then the metal just started to weaken away, and this is basically known as the corrosion. Or on the other hand, the corrosion is also basically the process in which the surroundings attack on the metal and the metal surface is just eaten away by the chemical reactions of the surrounding. So this is the simple rusting and the corrosion. After this we have now we have rusting of iron. So this is the process in which the iron forms a layer of powder iron oxide. So when iron oxide's formula is Fe2O3, it is formed over the surface of the metal, and that formation is just happening in the presence of air and water. So these are the two basic conditions for the rusting of the iron, which is air and water. Because air is having the oxygen, so it reacts with the iron in the presence of moisture and make a layer of iron oxide over its surface, and that layer is in the powder form, or that layer is basically a porous layer, and it affects the iron surface like this. In this picture you can see that this is the chain which is made up of the iron, and it is having the dark brownish to light brownish pits over it, and this is basically the formation of rust, or it is known as the rusting of the iron. Now why does happen this? Because the air containing the oxygen in the atmosphere and the water is present in the moisture form in the air, it get reacts with the iron. If we have some type of dents or some type of ridges over the metal surface, then they may in contact with the iron and changes into the iron oxide layer. In this way, the type of reaction that takes place during the rusting of the iron is at the anodic region. Here the iron, which is in the solid form, it loses the electrons and changes into the iron positive 2 by losing these electrons. So this is the process of oxidation, and though this process just occurs at anodic region. On the other hand, the oxygen is also present in the air. It may contact with the hydrogen, and 4 electrons gained by this. This is the simple formation of the water or the moisture. Now that iron, oxygen, and the hydrogen atoms or hydrogen ions come in contact with each other, and iron forms this. Now this iron and the oxygen that is present in the air and the water molecules, they react and changes into the iron oxide along with the production of the hydrogen ions. Now this production of iron oxide dot NH2, or we can also write it as XH2. This is the simple formula for the rust formation over the surface of the metal. So the one reaction is happening over anodic region, and this is the reduction process that takes place at the cathodic region. So both the anodic and cathodic regions are responsible for the formation of the rusting or the rust over the surface of the metal. And we have here the pictorial way in which we can explain the oxidation and reduction during the rusting process. So this is basically the iron or the surface of the iron. At one side here, the ridges are present over the surface of the metal where the iron have make contact with the water as it just lose the electrons, and the loss of electrons by the iron, this process is known as the oxidation. Now these electrons will move towards the other side, which is called as the cathodic region, as electrons are moving towards it, where the oxygen from the air and the water that is containing hydrogen ions, they will react with that iron which is containing positive charge, and it started to change into the rust. Now this rust is basically a porous layer or a weak layer. It just flakes away from the surface of the metal and then leaving behind the next surface for the more formation of the rust. In this way, the whole metal just eaten away by this redox reaction or by this chemical reaction, and it may becomes unstoppable until we just not providing some prevention measures over the metal surface. So both anodic and cathodic regions are responsible for the rusting of the iron, and the reduction reaction is oxygen, hydrogen and electrons are gained by this and changes into the water. Now this water and the oxygen which is present over there, they react and changes into the iron oxide. So this was the simple formation of the rusting. Now if we talk about the corrosion of the aluminium, then the corrosion of aluminium, it is a very simple process in which the aluminium forms its oxide as Al2O3, and the layer of aluminium oxide is very tough layer as compared to the layer of the oxide of iron. So that tough layer just stuck to the surface of the metal very tightly, and it will prevent the more surface from being corroded. So aluminium metal get corroded, not rusted. So this was the all of today's lecture. I hope you guys understand. In the next lesson, we will discuss about the preventions of the corrosion. For that time, you guys keep learning and have a good day.